Hey, check this out. I'm gonna hit play and unmute this vocal layer I created. Isn't that crazy? This one layer adds so much more energy, movement and depth to the track, and it's super easy to set up. Let's get into it. This trick is definitely nothing new, and some of you watching may already be familiar with it. It's the reverse reverb technique. First things first, we obviously need a project and a vocal sample. This technique comes in especially handy whenever you use royalty-free vocal samples from sample packs or off of Splice, for example, since you can't just ask the singer to record new vocal layers for you. The sample you have is all you get, but that's exactly where tricks like these come in. Just quickly before we get into it, this isn't part of the technique, but in case you're wondering what kind of project we're working with here, I'll quickly break it down. It'll be quick since it's a fairly simple track at the moment. I have this pattern with some cool chords and a simple bass line. I also have this pattern here with a kalimba sound in it and some drums underneath. This is what it sounds like. The vocal I'm using is a sample I got from Splice. It's from the Merges World Volume 001 pack, and here's what it sounds like.
Do we do this often? I don't care, recall the last time I felt it. Maybe you could.
As you can hear, it's quite slow and higher pitched, so the first thing I did was stretch the sample to fit our project tempo, which is 106 BPM.
Do we do this often? I don't know the last time I felt it.
I also pitched it down 4 semitones to match our project's key. Here's what it sounds like together with our chords.
Do we do this often? I don't care, recall the last time I felt it.
Pretty cool already, but let's solo our vocal sample and spice this whole thing up with the reverse reverb technique. First thing we need is to add a reverb. What reverb you use is completely up to you. I'm going to use the Valhalla Vintage Verb plugin. You can dial in whatever settings you want too, but here's what I found works best for this technique. First, the decay. Any setting between 4 to 6 seconds typically works best. Anything below that can be too short, and anything above can be too long. This isn't a must, but I prefer using a little more than average pre-delay in attack. So I'll set our pre-delay to around 50 milliseconds and our attack to roughly 70%. Just to avoid some muddiness in the lows, I like to increase our low cut to around 300 Hz. The reverb type is, again, completely up to you. In this plugin, we have a bunch of options from halls to chambers, plates, rooms, and so on. I'm going to use the dirty plate mode here. That's pretty much it for our long and atmospheric sounding reverb. Next, let's get into reversing the reverb. Let's start by raising the mix to 100% so that our vocals are fully drowned in reverb. Next, we'll go into the sampling settings and reverse the sample. This is going to sound super strange, but it'll make sense in a second. With the vocal reversed and the reverb at 100%, let's render that audio. Now let's grab the rendered audio file and hit reverse again. This might be a bit confusing, but this will re-reverse our vocal track back to its normal state, except now our reverb will be reversed. I'll just play it and you'll see. Sounds pretty cool already, right? Let's go back to our original vocal layer, disable the reverse setting, of course, and change the reverb. How you process the vocals from here is up to you. If you don't want your main vocal layer to have that huge atmospheric reverb, you can just disable it and add a new one. I typically like to keep it and just turn down the mix from 100% to whatever fits. I think for this project, around 30% should be fine. From here, you'll want to take your reversed layer and mix it into taste using the volume knob. Around 50% works great, I think. And that's pretty much it. That's the reverse reverb technique. I'll quickly play everything for you again and show how much depth this one vocal layer can add. As you can hear, whenever I mute the layer, things sound a bit stale and even empty. But with this layer enabled, the mix feels so much fuller and has a lot more movement. I don't want to make this video unnecessarily long for a simple vocal technique, but what I just showed you was the sort of basic approach. All we did was add reverb and that's it. But you can go full creative mode and add a ton more effects to make your reverb layer even more unique. For example, here are some effects I can recommend that typically go well with this trick. First, any sort of modulation effect like a phaser or a flanger can sound great here. Distortion or saturation also works really well. Do you do this often? Any type of delay or even granular delay can give you crazy good results too once reversed. And what I often like to do is change the formant of the vocal before sending it through the big reverb, just so the reverb layer ends up sounding a little darker, like this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you can easily create reversed reverb layers and give your mix that extra bit of depth and movement, and more importantly, help elevate your track. And as I've shown, you can either go with the basic approach or go full sound design mode and get creative with it. Bye for now.